How about that one for a start to the season for the Houston Texans? 29-27, the final score against the Indianapolis Colts. A nail biter as the Texans hang on to take care of business for a season opening win. Just like the end of the Colts season last year, hand them a loss in their building. Four big takeaways from this victory for the Houston Texans. And we start with what else? The cardiac Texans are back. This Texans team under DeMeco Ryans have shown a tremendous amount of resiliency. I just wish they would just finish opponents off. Now, we saw it there at the end. Joe Mixon went Mortal Kombat, finish him. And he did exactly that as the offense took care of their business down the stretch to run out the clock. But there were moments where this team probably could have had a much larger lead, held on to those larger leads when they did have the leads. And that would be something that you'd like to fine tune over the next few weeks. They're a very good football team. A great football team would have handled the Colts by about 2 scores in this one and taken care of business. Now, I know Indianapolis scored there late and was able to find themselves within 1 score, and it was a 2-score affair. But the Texans had to convert a really tough 3rd and 12 to put the Colts away. Great teams have that lead, and they can put teams away before the last little bit of the 4th quarter and kind of keep them at arm's length. Now, this is week 1 of the season. CJ Stroud said it best at the podium after the game. Everybody's rusty. So we may see the cardiac Texans go away because the Texans are more in tune. The new players are acclimated to their situations, and they are just a better team in, say, 4 weeks, 5 weeks than they are week 1 on the road. Heck, they may be a much better team just by being at home next week. But resiliency from this team was never in short supply. The issue at the end of the first half where the referees kind of confused the Texans, I believe the Texans were going to try to steal probably about 5-6 yards and try to run a 3 or 4 second play because they thought they had 5 seconds on the snap. I've seen them in practice do that very thing where they run sideline plays trying to get 5-6 yards to just give the kicker a little bit more manageable situation. I've seen them in practice. They can run a play to the sideline in 3 or 4 seconds and get themselves 5 or 6 yards. It would have been a 55-yarder for Kaimi Fairbairn if they hadn't tried to run that play. Now, you probably just try to kick it, and the confusion from the officials didn't make it easy to understand what was going on, but some teams might have carried that issue into the second half. The Texans did not carry that into the second half. They were able to go out there. They scored on their first drive. Then they really had to show the resiliency as they have the punt blocked, which was terrible. That it just can't happen in that situation. Jonathan Taylor scores right away. Then Eric Murray takes care of business on the two-point conversion to keep him out of the end zone. The Texans bounced back from some of the big blows the Colts were able to deliver there in the second half. Alec Pierce and then ultimately Anthony Richardson scores. The Texans are able to run out the clock. They throw it to the wide receiver that none of us knew was on the Colts, and he scores on like a 50-yarder. The Texans are able to recover and still hang around in that game. The best resilient moment to me was you give up the touchdown after the block punt. The very next drive, 7-minute drive, lots of Joe Mixon, ends in a Joe Mixon touchdown. Really kept Uncle Momentum, from sitting over on the Colts side for too terribly long, put it right back in the middle. And the Texans hold on. The most resilient moment was a false start on 3rd down when you got to have it to put the Colts away, and then CJ Stroud takes care of his business. That's big observation number 2. Boy, in number 7 special. Isn't CJ Stroud just excellent? Isn't it so much fun to watch CJ Stroud deliver time after time after time? 3rd and long, he scrambles, escapes pressure, throws across his body. What does every TV quarterback tell you? Don't throw across your body. What does he do? Throw across his body, hit Nico Collins, first down, keeps the train on the tracks, keeps things moving. But the throw to Nico Collins, an incredible connection between Stroud and Collins to help put the Colts away. I have no idea how Nico Collins, A, caught that, B, got a knee down in bounds, so he was in bounds, and the Texans were able to get that first down. And that was after a false start, moved them back 5 more yards. CJ Stroud, he put that back foot in the ground, and he threw that dart to Nico Collins, who took care of business. He was fantastic throughout the day. It's only 4 big takeaways, but Collins would be one of them if we had more than 4 big takeaways. But Stroud, man, just the control, dealing with pressure all day long, it felt like. I know it was 4 sacks in this one, but there was a lot more pressure getting Stroud off of platform. He made a couple of mistakes that he got bailed out. One was an interception where the player came down out of bounds, and the other was a penalty where it erased a interception. But to get Stefon Diggs over the middle for the touchdown, to operate things, get them in the right play from a run standpoint, quick, easy stuff, just excellent stuff from CJ Stroud. Big observation number 3. We've been telling you here on the channel, Joe Mixon is ready to rock. And 159 yards later, you know that we were telling you the truth. A touchdown for Mixon as well. 104 yards in the second half for Joe Mixon as he and the offensive line on the ground with their run blocking ground out that Indianapolis Colts front 7. That's a really good front 7. EJ Speed and Zaire Franklin and Grover Stewart and DeForest Buckner. Those are 4 really good players, and that's a really good front 7. And the Texans with Joe Mixon, excellent mixing up by Bobby Slowick, inside, outside, making fantastic moves in the open field, following his blocks, using a tight end in Cade Stover as the fullback on some of those. Mixon made sure to shout out Stover post-game. My goodness, what more can you say about Joe Mixon and that performance? There's no better way to introduce yourself to the Houston Texans fan base than the way he did it. Over 160 yards of total offense because he caught a handful of passes as well. Mixon was great. He can't do that all year long, but for this one, you needed him to be that good, and he was indeed that good in this one. The 4th big takeaway, 2 problem areas for the Texans showed up in huge ways. The pass blocking, not good. Few penalties, some of them on 3rd down, 4 sacks allowed. 3 of those 4 sacks came on 3rd down, ending drives. All 4 of the drives that had a sack ended with a kick of some sort at the end of the drive, either a field goal or a punt. The pass blocking was not good. And there was a moment where DeForest Buckner came unblocked and got CJ Stroud. There was one where the Colts had a sack party and they met at CJ Stroud's feet. Like, it was not as good as it needs to be. There is some cohesion that needs to get there. That's a tough front 4 for the Texans, and Stroud can manage some of it. We saw him with his ability to roll out and escape pressure. You don't want him to do that. You want the train to run on time. You want him to be able to take his drop, plant his foot, make his throw, and not have to worry about guys at his feet, pressuring him, having to step up, and things of that nature. The pass blocking wasn't up to snuff, and the secondary, Derek Stingley got burned a couple of times. Jimmy Ward got burned a couple of times. Kamari Lassiter got burned. Heck, the only secondary player that I feel like had a really good day was Kalen Bullock in his limited snaps. He caught an interception on a really nice diving play when Anthony Richardson overthrew his wide receiver. And that was a great job by Bullock, but Jimmy Ward getting burned by Alec Pierce when Alec Pierce only runs deep routes. That's not ideal. Derek Stingley got one time by Adonai Mitchell, and Anthony Richardson blew the throw. Kamari Lassiter, same thing. Adonai Mitchell got him, and Anthony Richardson blew the throw. Not every quarterback's going to bail the Texans secondary out like that. Oh, not to mention Dooley? What's the kid's name that went over the middle? Hold on, let me look it up. I didn't even know this guy was on the Indianapolis Colts. Ashton Doolin, 1 catch, 54 yards. If you had that one on your bingo card, go play the lotto tonight. You're probably going to win it. Like, that can't happen. The secondary has to be much better, and they will be. I think the unpredictability of the Colts offense sometimes with Richardson's ability to extend plays made a few plays difficult, but there were some where he just got back and just dialed that sucker up and threw it deep. Guys are running behind Texans players. That can't happen. Those 2 problem spots, pass blocking and the secondary, they got to get cleaned up, and I believe they will. Look at the resiliency the team showed within a game. Certainly they'll show resiliency over the course of the season. Those are the 4 big takeaways. What's your big takeaway from this game? Let me know in the comment section down below. Love to chat with you in the comment section. Did you enjoy this one? This is a fun one. Did you take your heart meds before? I did. Okay, the Cardiac Texans back yet again. Let me know in the comment section on your way down there. Throw me a thumbs up on the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Be on the lookout for the collaboration with the Locker Room this week as well as we talk more Texans. Man, the season's here. They start with a win. Isn't this fun? Can't wait to talk Texans with you again soon.